Hi, it's Donna here, and today we are making this really loud Hawaiian t-shirt card for my friend. He loves to wear Hawaiian shirts, so I'm going to be using some nesting circles, and these we'll be using for the buttons, so they're handy to have if you've got those. I'm also going to be using today this mixed sentiments die set, so it's got huge amounts of sentiments in it with shadows, and I will have those listed below. And the cardstock that I'm using for my card base is from my Tutti Frutti card kit, so I'll also have that linked below. So first of all, we're going to start up with the double-sided tape. Now I'm putting double-sided tape on the back of these two pieces of pattern paper because I'm actually sticking it onto another piece of paper. I couldn't find a good color cardstock in my stash here, so I used paper at the bottom. So when I use liquid glue, you know, the paper kind of warps a little bit, so I decided to use double-sided tape instead. So here you can see that I'm just lining it up. This is a small one. I've only removed the tape from the two diagonally opposed corners, and now I'm just going to lift the tape on two of the corners of the larger piece. So if you pick up those two pieces and the two pieces in the opposite corner, you'll be able to position your card and then remove the backing paper once it's in position. So what I've also done is I didn't take the release paper from the smaller piece until I had the larger piece settled to make sure that everything was all nice and straight. You know, it all has to be perfect. I'm a little bit like that. Okay, so now let's make the pocket. So I'm using the same green paper that I used for the base of my shirt. This is going to be the base of my pocket, and you can see I've just put those two corners together on the short edge and made a little mark in the middle. All I'm doing is finding the middle, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the pattern paper. Just make sure that you do this to the bottom of the pattern paper if it's a directional pattern, because it'll be an upside down pocket if you don't. All right, so now I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm just going to measure 2 centimeters up from that bottom edge of the paper. You can see I'm doing that on both sides. So that's on the same end that I've got the little fold. And this is just going to be used as a guide for us to cut the perfect shape at the bottom of our pocket. So I'm doing the same on the pattern paper as well. Now I'm just going to line this up in my Tim Holtz cutter that I absolutely love. And I'm just putting the 2 notches in line with the blade. And then when I cut it, it gives me the perfect angle at the bottom. Now I'll do that on the other side, and because we marked it 2 centimeters up on both sides before, it should be really even. And then we're going to do the same with our patterned paper as well. I don't think I'm going to make you sit through that. No. Okay. Now I've just put double-sided tape on the back of all of these. On the pattern paper, I put it around all the edges, including the top. But on the plain paper, I didn't put it across the top because that pocket is actually going to be used as a pocket. So we can put something in. You'll see a little bit later what will fit in there. I am just taking the backing off the patterned paper. Am I? Yes, yes. And I'm just going to stick it on top of the underneath piece of the pocket, the plain green piece. So I stand up when I do this because I like to make sure that it is even as possible, and when I'm looking down on it, it's much easier. So I'm now removing all of the tape from the back of the pocket, remembering that we don't have any across the top of the pocket, and we're positioning it on our shirt. That is actually now starting to look a little bit like a shirt instead of just 2 bits of paper. Okay, all positioned and stuck down well. Let's get on to the collar. So the patterned paper for the collar, we're going to cut diagonally across from corner to corner. So once again, the dimensions for all of these will be down the bottom. You will be able to get all of the dimensions so you can make this yourself. Lining that up a little bit there and just cutting that in half. And then I'm going to do the same for the plain green paper that I'm using. Now you can of course use any plain coloured paper and any pattern paper you like that coordinate to make it. At the end I've actually got another example, so you can see that that's where we're going to position the collar. So the other shirt example that I've got at the end is not quite as leery as this one. So now I'm sticking the pattern paper on, but I'm pretty sure that I've done this the wrong way, and yes I have. and I'm ripping it off, and because it's paper, it takes a whole pile of the paper with it. So the right way to do this is to actually line it up at the point. So this is the point of the collar that you're going to be able to see that'll hang over the top of the shirt. Now, because that ripped the white, you can see a bit of the white, and I do actually just trim that a little bit. I did that off camera. Oh no, I didn't. Well, okay, so I'm just going to take a tiny little piece off the edge to keep that nice and tidy. Just make sure you cut it straight. That's why I'm using my guillotine here, so it's nice and straight. Cut that off. It was only a tiny little piece, got rid of the white that you could see. And now it will line up across the top of my card, and it makes the little collar. Woohoo! So I've already got double-sided tape on the back of that. I did do that off camera. And I'm just going to pop that on. Turn the card around so I can make sure that I was lining that up there perfectly at the top. Okay. So now we're going to do some buttons. So to make the buttons, I cut out some circles. You can see plain white card from scrap card. I'm just going to pop some glue on there. So this is the Smart Art glue. It dries matte. It's a great glue. I love it. You can't see it when it leaks out the sides, and it comes out of the containers really easily. Of course, a bit too easily in that case because I ended up with glue on my fingers. Pretty sure I just wiped it on my pants then, but never mind. So now I'm going to put more glue on the next layer, and I'm just going to put the coloured paper on top of that. Now you can actually make your buttons thicker, you know, 3 or 4 bits of cardstock, but I was happy with just the 2 in this particular instance. And you can see that I cut small circles out of the pineapples off some of the offcuts of the pattern paper, and they just look so cute on top of the buttons. So I could have probably just made them the small pineapple size if I had wanted to, but I liked the little bit of green around the edge and making them a little bit bigger. So I've just popped some glue on the back of that and just putting it on my other circles and making sure that they were centered. So now it comes to how to make the button and make sure that my lines are lined, my holes are lined up. So I cut another round piece. You can see this is it here. It's the same size as the bigger pieces because we need to line it up with the bigger pieces. Folded it in half one way and then folded it in half the other way. So I did it both ways so I could see the lines and I could use the line to center it up. So I folded that in half there, you can see, and I could see the other line there, and I'm just putting a hole through this. So this becomes my button template. So now my holes are even. You can see that there on either side of that center fold. Fabulous. So I then put that on top of my circle that is not yet a button, lined it up to be in the middle of the glasses as well as I could. Maybe if you made that out of actually a piece of acetate, you'd be able to see where you're positioning it, and it might be better. So, and I'm just sticking my hole, I'm poking a hole through with my awl. And I'm just going to make that a bit bigger now. Now, I actually do have myself personally a button die, so I can cut buttons if I want to, but not everybody has them, so this is why I'm showing you this way. Of course, you can also use actual buttons. So in some of these shirts that I've made in the past, I have also used buttons. It's just a matter of finding ones that match. So what I'm going to do now that I've done that and put the holes in it, I cover it with diamond glaze. So this will give me a lovely shine on the buttons themselves. It does look a little bit milky when you first put it on, but it dries. I like to leave it for a couple of hours, so or even the day before, so to go all nice. And you can see that I've done that here. So I have got 5 that I prepared earlier. And just to make it look a little bit more authentic, I literally stitch cotton through it. So I've just got a needle and I've got a knot at the other end, and I'm just sewing it through. To make sure it doesn't fall through, I make sure that I feed the needle back through the 2 pieces underneath the knot on the back, which is what I'm doing there. That is a little bit tricky to see on camera. And then I just, feed it through maybe half a dozen times. I don't really know. And there is a good chance that it differed from button to button. to be honest. So, and you'll be pleased to note that I'm not going to make you watch me do this for all the buttons, but this is definitely what I like to do to make it look a little bit more authentic. Okay, so now that I've done that, the only other thing that I had was the edges of the buttons were white. You could leave them white, it probably wouldn't matter. I mean, it is just a greeting card, but I used my Distressed Oxide Cracked Pistachio, which mixed well with the colour that I had used to tidy up the edges. So I've now positioned them all where I want them to be, and it turns out that I only need 4 buttons, so I've got a spare bee. And I am just going to put some glue on the back of the button and stick it down. So this glue is a really strong glue, so there is no way in the world you need as much as I just put on that button. And you can just position it and go. So in this particular case, I was able to line that button up with the pineapple underneath it, and it looked terrific. So I wasn't able to with the others. And today what I'm doing is a happy birthday card. So I am choosing to use these without the shadows today. So I've cut a couple of them and I have stuck them on top of one another. One of the things that I do love about these dies is that you can actually make them go in different shapes, which I end up doing on this as well. So I was just deciding where I wanted to put it, and so now I know. Just putting some more of that glue on the back. Now if you do this and you're worried that you've got too much on there, this is just a piece of scrap paper that I've printed on one side, and I literally just plonk it, tap it lightly on, you know, the sticky side down, and then I'll stick it on my card. It doesn't really matter a great deal because, as I said, that glue does dry matte, so I can't see it, but you know, if you don't have that particular glue, then it's nice to, that's a good little trick. So you can see that I've got those wonky, even though that's not the way that they're supposed to be, but I'm able to with these dies, and it just really adds to the whole, you know, Hawaiian crazy theme. So I was just making sure there that I've got it open the right way. How many times have we done that? Hey, put the card on the wrong way and then had to take it off. It's frustrating. I've just lifted up the backing of the double-sided tape in 2 opposite corners, positioned it in the center, and I'm now just pulling that backing paper off. Okay, you could add a little bit extra bling or anything to that if you wanted to, but you know, this is for a bloke and I think it's pretty cool. So now I'm just showing you that I did purchase a gift card for him, and this will slip perfectly in that pocket. So if you're giving this to your dad or to your brother or maybe to, you know, son, grandson or whatever, it's nice to be able to put that in there as well. So this is my finished card. And you can see that the card that I used is white on the inside, which makes it really nice for writing in. So some close-ups for you. I hope you enjoyed today. I'd love you to give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.